Happy birthday, Pat.
Thank you very much.
You're not quite, was it Tuesday? You were 70, Thursday. I thought it'd be nice to get some of your years of research on the record on a video interview, because there's a lot of stuff. There must be a lot of stuff that you've acquired over the years.
That's not at all. That's not at all. There's loads and loads of paperwork authenticating bits and pieces. This is the beef.
That's the rest of just a summary sort of thing. And say hi. No, actually, do you want to say? Why don't you come round, Orla?
Hello.
Are you going to be helping us with the interview? Yeah. So just think of any questions as they pop into your mind. Actually, it might be better. It might be a more interesting way of approaching by, why don't you ask the first question? What question about your ancestors? What would you like to know?
Who was the great grandmother and grandfather?
I'm sorry I can't go back that far. There is a problem. Now you can maybe do it.
What's the problem?
Well, you could maybe do it with Dad's ancestry, because that is well documented in England. But because Papa's ancestors came from Ireland, there was a lot of information was lost due to lots of factors.
Alright then, what's my great?
No,
I think we can go back. I think we can go back to your three times great grandparents.
So who is my great?
I think what you're trying to ask is, how far back do we know? That's the question.
I think we can go back to safely 1700. Just maybe before it, 1680.
So who is...
Right. What I can do is, this book here is Papa's research, and I started doing this in round about the year 2000, when I had a wee bit more time in my hand, when I was stopping work, and I didn't have any grandchildren to look after. So if we take Papa's dad, your great granddad, who was Andrew. Andrew's dad was Patrick. And Patrick was born in Kilbirnie, which is in Ayrshire. And he was the son of Hugh Johnson, who was born in Portaferry in County Down, and his mother was Mary Mellon, who...
Did she like Meltons?
No, that was her name, Mary Mellon. And she was from County Tyrone. Not definitive in that one, but we think that's where she was from. Now, her parents were from there, but she was born in a place called Carnbrough, which is in Airdrie. Now, you got to realise what was happening at this time. There was a huge famine in Ireland. And
yeah, the potato famine?
The potato famine. Well, it was a potato epidemic where the potato failed. There wasn't a famine as such, because there was a lot of food, but the poor people didn't get it. It was all exported. The potato was what everybody lived on. It was everybody grew it, but the conditions for growing it were very bad, and a blight, what they call a blight, got into the crop, and it ravaged the whole crop, Not only in Ireland, I ravaged it over here in Scotland as well.
Have you heard about that, or have you done that at school?
No, we haven't done
Famine.
it in school or anything, but I have heard of the potato famine.
Right. Well, what happened then was, now, the majority of the families were all big families.
Hmm.
You know, they were,
Yeah, because like there was around like 6, 7 children. Because
well, I think I can give you a fright in some of that later on. So what happened was that, normally what happened was that the oldest in the family stayed and worked the land. The other ones, some went to the army, others went to America. Now at that point in time, about the 1840s, working on from there, the coal mines were starting to become very prolific in Scotland. And
what do you mean by prolific?
there were a lot of mines being sunk. They were sinking a lot of coal mines, a lot of coal shafts.
So there were a lot of them.
They're all round here.
Round
All
about here,
you don't know where they
a
are.
5-mile radius from here, there could be anything up to 40 coal.
If you saw an old map of this area, you'd see coal mines everywhere.
Papa's got a map of that. I can show you. Now, they all come over here. So, the people who owned the mines, particularly in this area, was William Baird. And they started building the houses for the people to live in and getting them to work in their pits. Now, they worked long hours. They worked from 6 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. They worked in very, very poor conditions. And round about here, the coal seam, the strata, was very small, about 3 feet maybe. Whereas through in the east of Scotland and down in England, they're the size of this roof here. Lighting conditions were very bad. Machinery was not the greatest because they had pit ponies pulling the ponies. So you had all these Irish people now. They lived in these houses that the Bairds built, but they were very basic. They had an earth floor. The floor was just a basic earth. It'd be maybe a one-room kitchen, and you would have maybe mother and father. You could have maybe 10 children, maybe more.
Wow, only one room?
Yeah.
To share 10 children?
Yeah, and they
How big was the room?
And no iPads.
about the size of this maybe.
10 children all sleeping in the room the size of this?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
And what else they had was they would maybe have a lodger.
What's a lodger?
Well, someone who is not part of the immediate family. That it could be a nephew or a niece or a cousin, or it's just someone they knew from where they were. Now I don't think I've got it in here, but I have got the 1871 census from Smithton, which is down where Hannah lives. Right? And it shows you who was in each house, where they came from, how many lodgers were there. So you had that. So, but your original question was, who was your great-granddad? Well, your great-granddad
Oh, my great.
your great-granddad was Andrew Johnson. Your great-great-granddad was Patrick Johnson. And your great-great-granddad was Hugh Johnson. And your great-great-great-granddad was John Johnson.
Which one of those was the first over to
Over here,
Scotland? Yeah.
Hugh.
Hugh.
Hugh and his brother John arrived in Scotland around about 1860 from Portaferry, which is on the Ards Peninsula, the bottom of the Ards Peninsula. And they arrived here and they landed in Ardrossan, and they walked over a hill to Dalry and Kilbirnie, and they started work there. Then Hugh married Mary Mellon in Kilbirnie. John married an Elizabeth Adget, and she was from Donegal. Then they moved up here, because in the 1871 census, John is with Hugh in Smithton. Eventually he goes back to Dalry. He goes back down and stays in Kilbirnie and Dalry. And by 1887 all his family and him had died out. And that left Hugh. And now the Johnson connection is quite extreme. But
so what about, maybe we talk about your start at the beginning and talk about your dad.
my dad was born in 1905.
So that's your great grand.
And he was the youngest of Hugh Charles, Patrick, Felix and Andrew. Charles and Patrick died as babies. Hugh married Elizabeth Sweeney. Your granddad was born in 1905 and his dad died in 1909. So he was only 4 years of age when his granddad died, when his dad died. Now his older brother was Felix, and he would be 9. Now we jump on a wee bit to 1930, and Felix went to the dentist to get his teeth out, and he contracted septicemia and died. Hygiene wasn't very great.
You had one of those operations, haven't you? Or having some teeth taken out.
No, he got
So, in years beforehand, you would have been at risk.
He got all his teeth taken out because they hadn't great diets, and he died. So that left my Uncle Hugh and your granda. Now Uncle Hugh wasn't a very well man. He had a thing called Parkinson's disease.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And he died about 1953. He was a smashing guy. Now there's not many of his granddaughters. There's still ones in Croy. Mary Frances Waters, you know Mary Frances? And Pauline and Frances. Yeah? Well, they're from our same family. But Hugh Johnson, he moved up from Kilbirnie and he had a family of Hugh. Mm-hmm. He had a family of Patrick, Hugh, William, Mary, Margaret and Ellen. Now, some of the family off of them, right? Ellen is Jaden's great-great-grandmother. Jaden in your class?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, Jaden's gran Jaden's great-great-great-grand 3 times. Auntie Nellie, right? And then,
It's my...
yeah, they're and your great-great-grand, they were granddad or sisters, their brother or sister. So, they're all in the same family.
Did you know that you were related to Jaden?
Yeah, because I know I'm related to Alfie, and Alfie's related to Jaden.
That's a different. That's a different side.
What about me being related to
On both
Alfie?
sides, there with Alfie. Alfie's mum and Alfie's dad. There is connections. Old connections. Now, that goes away, they go way back. Some of the records here is, this one here, this is the records from 1843 to 1881 by Father Killen of Portaferry, and these, I've transcribed all the marriages and baptisms, and the ones in red are definitely theirs, because you've got Charles, born 1843, of John Johnson and Cecilia Martin. That's my great-great-grandparents. Now,
Actually, it might be useful if I take this off there. And we'll do a... So, it's right, I'll come up so you can point to what you're... Get the focus right. Okay.
you got that there?
Yeah. Father James Cullen, parish priest of St Patrick's, Portaferry, started the records of baptism and marriage in 1843. This continued until he died in 1881. The following are extracts are all Johnston entries of these years. Entries are our family. I'm not sure whether he recorded the Johnson name correctly, but he put it down as he heard.
So here we have another one of Elizabeth, daughter of John Johnson, Cecilia Martin. So these are my great-granddad's brother and sister. And then you have a baptism of Joseph Baird, and his sponsor was Cecilia Johnson, so she was the godparent to this Joseph Baird. Now some of these might be, I would reckon that they're possibly all the same family in Portaferry. It's quite detailed. Here is a marriage, a death, and it's Cecilia Johnson, birth year 1805, and it was registered around 1874, and registered in Downpatrick. Now, it's very hard to get the certificates from Northern Ireland. So you can see that it's there. It's saying 1873, between the quarter of January to March 1880, estimated birth year 1807, and she was 73. Now, this document here is the people who lived in the houses. They came along and they made a record of who lived in the house, and she lived at number 5 Ann Street.
It's called a census. Have you heard of a census before? No? A census.
Well, this is actually a tithe. It's a tithe. You had to pay so much to the established church, which was the Church of Ireland, but they also took down what a record of your land, of who you were living in, the house you were living. So here we have, and it's, there she's there, Cecily Johnson, the leasee, the guy that owns it, the property is James McGrath, and it's a house and a yard, and it gives then what the acreage is and what she was paying, £1 10 shillings per year. But she dies round about this time, so in the in the column here, you see the person who's taken it over. Her name is scribbled out, and it's 1873-74. So this would indicate that she died at that time, and the house is taken over by Patrick Quinn. Right? Now, records show that Patrick Quinn was possibly a relation to Cecily, as in the cemetery at St Patrick's Ballyphilip there's a stone in memory of Catherine Merrin. Cecily's name was Cecily Merrin, and that lady died in 1831. Now she was wife of James Quinn, so she could be the mother of this Patrick, and Cecily could have been his aunt, and he takes over the house. Now Cecily's family still lived, they were still in Portaferry, so a wee bit maybe dubious about this. But this is how to find, when you find out the records. Now I couldn't find records of Cecily's birth, but this one, that one there is of a Cecily Marin. It's a bit early, so I reckon that Cecily is a name that was in the Marin family, like Patrick is and Bernard is for us. And she was born in 1720, I think it was, 1791. And she was born in Saul and Balee. Now Saul and Balee is right across the ferry at Portaferry in Strangford. And Saul is where St Patrick died, and he's buried in Downpatrick.
St Patrick, that's the patron saint of Ireland. You know that already.
And who I'm called that.
Who doesn't know that?
So, the other records that are here is Isabella Johnson. You've got an Elizabeth. We know there's an Elizabeth born, and we find out now that there's an Isabella, and she was married in Portaferry, and her husband was John Blaney, and her dad's name was John Johnson. And John Blaney he had already been married before. Tells you that.
Do you have the family tree?
Yeah, we've got some of them here. Yeah. Right, so here we are. This is the census of 1901, and here we have Charles, who was born in 1844. He's the head of the family. He's a Roman Catholic. He's a general labourer. He can read, and he's a widower. So his wife, Elizabeth Hastings, has died. He's got a son John, who's 16, a son William, a daughter Jane. Right, now, if you go to the...
What year was that?
That's 1901.
1901.
Yeah. Margaret Jane, daughter of Charles Johnson and Elizabeth Hastings. Right, this is 1920. She was baptised in 1881. 1920, when she was 31, she married Francis Minton. Right, so then,
oh, here we go.
now here is the descendants of Hugh Johnson. I'm being presumptuous here. I think that his dad was a Hugh, and he would have been born about 1780, roughly. Check ahead. Right, so we've got John Johnson and Cecilia Martin. Then we've got Hugh Johnson. He marries Mary Mellon, and these were their kids. John Johnson, Patrick Johnson, my granddad, William Johnson, Charles Johnson, Hugh Johnson, Mary Johnson, Helen Johnson, and another Mary. This one died.
It's us.
We're here. This is us here. Right? So there you are. There's Andrew Johnson marries Catherine Craney. Right? But Pat Johnson and Anne McCann had Andrew, Patrick, Felix, Charles and Hugh. Then it comes to Andrew, and Andrew marries Catherine Craney. That's my mum and dad. Your great-gran and great-grandmum. And you have got Patrick, who marries Joanne Mackay, right? And Bernard, who marries Margaret Dunn. That's Uncle Ben. So then you've got your mum and your dad, Andrew and Linda, Catherine and Scott, and Patrick, and we've not got Linda, Deborah in here, and Kayla. They're not in there yet, so that's got to be added in. So there's
So do you want to put your finger on yourself? And you can follow
that back
up. Yep. Say the names of your ancestors. Direct ancestors. Don't read them out loud.
I have a lot of relatives.
Okay, so say. Take a photograph of this.
It is, yes, Ed. Right.
Hang on.
One of these.
Hey Connor. Hey Connor.
Connor. Cheese? Sausage? Voila.
Interviewing Papa.
Ugh, yuck.
Oh!
What did you step in?
So one of these guys.
This is my great uncle, right? With Uncle Ben's your great uncle. This is my great uncle Willie, and his daughter married Albert Dennis, who won the Distinguished Flying Medal.
Yeah. For what, in
Second World War.
Second World War?
Yeah.
Oh, Albert Dennis. Was he, you know what aircraft he?
I can't find it. I've tried.
Yeah.
Father and mother, right? William Mallon and Helen Collins, and they're in Falkirk. Now they've been in Airdrie, they move about, they keep moving where the work is. So they've moved to Falkirk, and their daughter Margaret is baptised in St Francis Xavier's. Now this one here, this is my great-grandmother, your great-great-great-grandmother, Mary Mellon, and this is her getting baptised in St Margaret's in Airdrie in 1842.
So what was your question again, Ola? It's a very important question. What was it? What was the question?
Did Mary Mellon like a melon?
And the answer was, they probably never even seen a melon. So that does, I know, add some kind of context to. Go on, Ola, you.
So here we come to my mum's family, the Craneys. And the spelling of the name in this area is horrendous. Because people have changed the name. Now, they're all descended from my great granddad, so it's, although he came here about 1860, that's my great granddad, but now they came from Ballinderry, or Agagalan, which is on the banks of Loch Ness one of the biggest lochs in Britain. Now you were on about how many children people had. Now look at this. Here they're all here, and my great granddad had Hugh, who married Elizabeth Boyle, and they had Dan, Elizabeth, Hugh, and Mary.
Where's Isaac? Because their bedroom door was lying open again. I've just shut it, I'm just going to make sure I haven't actually shut him in there.
And they had John and Helen. Now, then she died very young. Then there was a David, and a Dan, and an Annie. And Annie married Anthony Campbell, and they had all that family there, and they went to Canada. Peter, and this is a very interesting man. Peter married Annie Conley, and they moved to Arizona, and he had Peter, who worked in the mines in Kansas, and he put himself through school and he became a lawyer. He became one of the head lawyers in Illinois. Now, then you had my granddad and this is your mum's great granny, great great. So count these ones, right? Count this for a family. John, Bernard,
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19! 19 children!
You can have a look what Papa's got to show you, and you can get a Smartie.
right. All the family were born in Ireland, bar this one here. He was born in Broxford. But he went away to America and went to the gold mines, worked in the gold mines. So again now we come to censuses. This is where you look and you try and find. But when Papa went to Agagalan and he went to the graveyard there and we found this graveyard, this grave. And look what it says. It says, here lieth Barnard Creaney of Derry Clone. Now Derry Clone is a farm. And he died in 1778 and he was aged 77 years.
So how old was he? When was he born then, Orla?
Huh?
He was aged 77 years when he died in 1778.
The orange ones are mine. No, don't have
Orla.
When was he born?
Don't eat the mold. Don't
When was he born?
eat all the orange ones.
It was 77 in 1878.
I don't
1878.
eat all the orange ones. Your purposefully taking it.
The winner of this maths problem wins Smarties.
So,
Good question. When did he? How old was he when he? I mean, what year was he?
77 from 78.
wait, what year was
What
he
year
born
was he
in?
born in?
What year was he born in?
Yeah, what year?
I'm asking you.
Oh, you
No, you need to work it out.
1778,
Yeah.
and he died.
He was 77
He was
years
77
old.
years of age. What year was he born?
That's a good age for 17.
So, is 1778 the year he born?
No, he died. He died in 78. And he was 77, so he takes 77 away from 78.
Dude, I do not take all the orange ones.
It's not a trick question, Orla.
I want one. 1701?
In 1701.
1701.
1701.
Yeah.
1701.
Right.
That is a long time
So
ago.
his father was Daniel.
Yeah.
His son was Daniel.
No.
then
It's not the mole.
Daniel is my granddad's
Right.
father.
You
And there
take
you are,
two.
look. There is my granddad's,
These two.
there's my granddad's baptismal certificate. And there it's there. And he was baptised in St Malachy's in Belfast. Because they were on their way here just after he was born. And he got baptised there. So his father was Daniel Craney and his mother is Mary Moore. And his godmother was Jane McVeigh. Now there's Lochmain, if you ever see a map of Northern Ireland, and there is where the farm is. The town is Agagalan, Derry Clone, and that's where the farm is.
Let me get this on. Bring that map back.
Have a drink. How do you get a drink?
And that's. When I was there, I tried to buy that there off the guy for a gift to your Uncle Ben, but the guy wouldn't sell it. The post box.
Ireland.
Now, the man who was in there, our great grandfather, right? He left a will, and there is a transcript of the will. You want to read that?
I, William Craigie of Derry Clone in the country of Antrim, Farmer, to make and publish this my last will and testament in the manner and following viz. I leave and
Bequeath.
bequeath to my eldest son Patrick, sum of 2 shillings and 6pence. I leave and bequeath to my son William the sum of 2 shillings and 6pence. I leave and bequeath to my son John the sum of 2 shillings.
2 shillings.
2 shillings, not siblings. Shillings and 6pence. I leave and bequeath to my son Bernard the sum of 2 shillings and 6pence. I leave and bequeath to my daughter Ellen
McLaren.
formerly Grady the sum of 2 shillings and 6pence.
So how much? The next maths question is how many? What's the total amount of it? 2 shillings and 6pence times 5.
What
Go
does,
on, carry on.
what does that say?
They having been all provided for before this time.
2 and 6 for a gimmick, right, for the purposes of the will,
Oh, right.
right? So
What does leave and bequeath?
it already left, it already handed out the money to them what they were getting, but for the will purposes, they all get 2 and 6,
Oh, right, okay.
right?
Yeah.
So then he says, I've even bequeathed to my
Grandson, Hugh Craigie, a heifer for 2 years.
You know what that
And
is?
no, that is
Paper?
a cow,
Cow.
and any bed on his attaining the age of 21 years
right?
should die under age. I leave the same to his brother William James and subject to foregoing and to payment of my just debts and funeral expenses. I leave and bequeath to the rest residue and remainder of my real freehold and personal property to my son Daniel Craney.
Right, so Daniel Craney, your Uncle Ben and I's great granddad, Got left the farm. They get left the farm.
But we don't have
Hold
a
on.
farm in Antrim.
Yeah, well,
But we didn't end up with it. Patrick got it. So then it goes on to say who he leaves it with. And the year is what?
The 16th of April, 1857.
So it's 1857 that he died. You know?
camera's too heavy for the tripod.
So
I thought I was
could you read that?
No, we can't
Eh?
read that sort of handwriting.
Right, that's a photocopy. But that's our granddad. And there he's there, Bernard Craney. Right. His father's Daniel Craney and his mother is Mary Moore. And that was St Malachy's in Belfast. Aye, great granddaughter. Aye. If you go for a lottery or that, Liz is at she's at the cigarette thing, Jeanette is on the tills, and Willie stocks the booze. Willie McAteer stocks the booze counter. She married a guy called McVeigh Nucky, William McVeigh Nucky. She had 3 children, 2 of them died, and she's got a daughter, Janet. He disappears, he's in the army. He goes to the Boer War. She gets word saying that he was missing, presumed dead. Then she gets a letter saying he is dead.
Right.
So she leaves her daughter with her sister Catherine, right, Auntie Kate, and she goes away working. And she meets William French, and she meets him. He's from through the east there, but she meets him in Glasgow, and she gets married in Denison to Will French. And then a couple of children that are back in Blackrock University. McVeigh Nucky turned up. She was charged with bigamy, and had to go to court with it.
But there's a photo though. Where's that photo? Picture there where
Oh,
With the hat.
with a hat on.
That's a
I
beauty.
always just imagine her going, I mean I don't know where this is, but I always imagine her going to court with that hat
That's
on.
a beauty, isn't it?
Apparently she went to court. She went to court with the hat on and a big, you know, one of these boa scarves sort of thing.
Stole
Aye, and she marched into the court and she says, "I am a chaste woman." The judge found it. The judge found it. You know, she had the documentation
Right.
saying, you know, like, so she stayed with Willie,
You wonder why
French.
he got to court, eh?
Huh?
and
Wonder why he
he
even got to court.
left and went to. Eventually, just found out recently, went to Kamloops, which is in Canada. You know,
So he was. So but the guy that was
presumed dead.
presumed dead. Yeah. So he was the kind of the first husband who was not part of the
No.
yeah.
So his daughter Janet stayed with Auntie Kate and was brought up as Janet McLaren, which was Janet Nucky. She got married as Janet Nucky to Pat Hagen. But
It's a good story.
you know, but their mother and father, the McMullins, they came from a place called Resharkin in Ireland. Now we had a connection when they moved over here. There must have been 2 or 3 brothers there.
Oh, is it John?
Robert McMullen was my great grandfather, and he had a brother Patrick, and his granddaughter was Rosetta, McMullen, and we used to go through, Ben and I used to go through, and Dan,
I went with Thomas.
to see Rosetta and Neil. Now, and then I came across this Patrick McMullen. Rosetta's grandparents were Patrick McMullen and Ellen McKillop. And you can see there in a place called the
By the
Raw.
way, Bunny used to smoke.
The Raw was it's near,
Aberrotten food.
yeah, it's near,
The King Eddie's off it.
it's near the Sharkin.
And it was smoking like bags. Just one after the other.
There's a council house in Broxburn and they were the first people to get it, and when the houses were being allocated, Rosetta went and put a St Christopher,
They're in the found.
St Anthony.
St Anthony,
Aye.
and the one that she wanted, and that was the one that they got, and it had never been touched.
The grandfather clock.
The grandfather clock in it, and the light fittings were iron, like the ones with the
Antique,
wee
cut,
ball
aye.
on them, you move up and down, and it had a formica table in the middle of the
And the
living room in the
Hiya. And the big massive
this
sideboard.
the big sideboard and huge clock in this tiny wee room, and then the wee kitchen at the back.
Oh, it's something else.
I don't know what age was it? Did I stop going there before I was sick? How age? I would have been.
Still going there.
Still going when Rosetta
When
died.
Rosetta died, when does Rosetta die?
Rosetta died.
Rosetta died when it 1980.
Yeah, Catherine was in the hospital.
Aye, so
So that's
83,
30 ages of Catherine.
30.
Yeah. But 34, 35 years ago.
Aye, so there'd been about 8.
She was still machine then.
And like the other times you went to Airdrie.
But that's destroyed everything.
You went to Brigg.
Oh no.
You knew the bus route.
She went with Thomas, she went in the train.
Aye,
Right.
we went to Linlithgow. I went
Aye.
with the bus.
Are you still recording that? Well, the McCanns, this is my gran. My dad's mum was Anne McCann, and they were from Kilmore, which is Armagh. Now, the beauty of the Kilmore records is that the Catholic records are now online, and that's the marriage of Felix McCann and Anne Martin.
Oh, I love
That's it.
that.
I need to read that.
That's there's the copy right there.
Oh,
1863.
And again here that's 1833, and that's Anne Martin's father and mother getting married in a place called Lochgilly, which is between there and Newry.
So, what was it like trying to get hold of some of these
Pretty hard,
documents?
pretty hard. You know, the Catholic records are, you know, 1922 when they set fire to the Four Courts in Dublin. They destroyed, you know, most of the records were destroyed. But that's why these Catholic records, now they've been put online and you can see them. They're, you know, they're your link now, you know, you can get them.
Alright, so if you did that same,
Stop it.
it would be much easier
Aye.
these days.
Well, I tried. I went to Mulla Brack to try and get the records, and the priest wouldn't even open the door. The old bugger wouldn't open the door, the old canon. No, wouldn't he? And we'd been told that by Father Conley up in Armagh, that bishop's secretary, the cardinal's secretary. We were sitting in the cardinal's dining room in tea with Father Conley, who was the parish priest at Mulla Brack. And he was also the secretary of the cardinal. And he says to me, he says, "You're down to Mulla Brack." He says, "But," he says, "he maybe not even talk to you." He didn't, he kept me out for behind the curtain. You know. But now they're online. They're online now, and you can see them, and if they've been photographed. Some of the writing is a bit, I mean, look at that, some of it's a bit iffy. But there are some of them who have got actual documents with headings on them. But when I was looking at them ones, around about 1909, for the Kilmore book, was came across this one that says, "Mary O'Neill of this parish, Kilmore, was married in Holy Cross Church, Croy, to James Rafferty." And across the page, a year later, was Margaret O'Neill, sister, was married to Patrick Curry. That's
No.
Big Patrick Livison, who runs with Patrick. His great-granddad was baptised by the Reverend John Charleston, who was the parish priest here for, what, 20 years or something, eh? No, so that's the good one, that you can see things like that. Whereas before, you hadn't the access to it. And it's getting the actual papers, you know, where they're registered. The Dock is the registration for Dramilly, where Lawrence Martin was. And again, this is the tithes. And you can tell by when somebody died, and it changes hands.
So what was a tithe?
Tithes were you to pay the established church, which was the Church of Ireland. So even though you weren't in the Church of Ireland, you're Catholic, you still had to pay.
In Scotland as well.
You know, you still had to pay the money to the established church. You know,
that landlord in there, yeah.
but then over there you had what were called the centres. There were guys that, just like the poll tax, they went like that.
What is it called in this country? See when if you buy a house, something you've got the first house. It's like the feudal lord.
Few, aye. All bum. You had to go by looking for like something that was relative to that area. They would maybe throw something up. Now, there was a guy called Sir Richard Griffiths, and he was tasked with going round Ireland from about 1840, and he done it right up to about 1860. So he had teams of men going about and were triangulating the areas, marking down what people were owing, what they were total amount of the rateable property was. So the parish of Killeavy, this is just one of them. Parish of Killeavy is Lawrence Martin, and he only had nothing actually, the wee house, and he was paying £5 a year, and that was, I think, 1849, 1850, and he was paying £5. Some of them were £12.50, but they had like 18 acres. But it wouldn't that would maybe be good farming land for that is at Killeavy, but some of the places was just bogland, mountain. you know. That's the book of. That's the book of that there. That's my grand's baptism in Clonallen, which is at Killevi. And then you've got her. She's getting just before she gets married
A lot of the things that they find
in 1888.
Repeat perception. Isn't it? Some of the stuff that they're all is amazing to be fun.
Mining accidents.
She worked in the pit,
Just once
the pit head,
runner.
and she fell off the gangway and was hurt. And she got married the following year to my granddad.
Down. Back in the gun range.
So what was that?
It's square feet down there.
I guess that wasn't an uncommon thing.
So that is
Back up the button again.
them,
No.
Lawrence Martin, who'd be born round about
So he's the
1800.
right.
What about? Forsyth's supposed to have, well, the garden's supposed to have opals, isn't it? Silent. Jim through that silent opals and garnets.
Garnets.
Just garnets.
Garnets.
The garnets.
Running low on battery.
Right, well that's about the basis of ours. The rest of the book is the Mackays, the Tipperary team. They're more scattered than we were. They are Tipperary, well, County Mayo. We didn't know this when we were up round.
We were there.
Aye.